to our big political story on the program tonight, a letter written by one of the middlemen in the Agusta scam, Christian Michel. This letter sent to the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in December 2015 now adds a new twist to the Agusta tale. In this letter, the middleman Christian Michel claims to be a victim of what he calls political vendetta. In fact, he goes on to say, I have been the victim of a political vendetta ordered by Shri Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister. And he, of course, goes on to repeat an allegation he made in another letter that he wrote directly to Prime Minister Modi, where he speaks of an alleged deal that the Modi government has struck with the Italian government, a kind of quid pro quo on the Marines cases in exchange for a tough line by the Italian courts against Sonia Gandhi. Most controversially, he also goes on to say that he was under pressure to name the Gandhis in the VVIP chopper scam, even claiming that it was made clear to me through a number of obtuse channels that if I was willing to denounce any member of the Gandhi family in the so-called helicopter scandal, these are his words, all charges and investigations against me would be dropped. However, the BJP is already poking holes in this letter, pointing out that one of the central facts or claims rather that he makes in this letter of that meeting that took place between Prime Minister Modi and the Italian Prime Minister on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly is a meeting that never took place. So the BJP making the argument that since one of the central claims of this letter has already proven to be false, why should this letter be treated as anything but a piece of fiction? We'll be debating that in a moment from now, but just to jog your memory, the judge, the Agusta judge, who actually said that corruption has taken place, these are the key highlights of his interview that actually puncture the Congress defense just when it is using this letter to the tribunal to claim that they too are victims of a witch hunt. The judge says that he believes another note, this is the handwritten note of another middleman, Guido Hashke, which actually has amounts and acronyms that were paid off. The judge has told me in an earlier interview that he believes this note to be authentic, and he does believe that the money went beyond the Tyagi brothers to Indian politicians. You have not given a clean chit. You are not sitting there and saying no politician is involved. On the contrary, you are looking at middleman Hashke's note and saying there are indications of the fact that the money may have also gone to officials and politicians, going by the handwritten note of middleman Hashke.
The handwritten paper by Mr. Hashke gives traces of which we took note of it, and we said maybe that someone other has supported Agusta. The investigators said that Paul is an indication, an initial stage for a politician. AP is an initial of an important politician, Indian politician, and in correspondence of this initial there are indicated numbers who could be, should be the amount that would be paid, but was not interest of the court to say if these facts was real or not, if this fact was founded, because these facts were not in the indictment. And so we have only a scenario surrounding, and we say in the judgment that is reasonable, is possible that someone other has received money for this deal, but that's all for us.
So what I'm hearing you say, sir, is that you have taken note of the middleman Hashke's handwritten bribery note. You believe it's quite possible that money was paid to Indian officials and politicians, but you have not gone further because you think it's for India to investigate that.
That's not my rule. If the Indian authorities think that would be possible to investigate starting from these documents. Yes, it's not something that I can say. Surely they can do it. The document is visible on internet to everyone, and everyone can can have an idea of the situation.
Sir, you
so
spoke...
if they want to start investigation...
Yes. You spoke of AP being a reference to an important Indian politician. Here there is a great deal of debate. Journalists and the government says it's a reference to Ahmed Patel. Was that your conclusion as well?
We have no conclusion about it. Ahmed Patel is an indication of investigators on the initial AP under the initial POL who could be politicians. AP has been indicated by one investigator as correspondence with Mr. Ahmed Patel, but Mr. Ashke, in his declaration as witness in the first degree of the trial, said that he don't remember this indication and has not clarified the correspondence.
All right, so as the judge, the Agusta judge actually says that he believes that the Hashke note, in fact, can we change the note and bring up the other note? We want to show our viewers Guido Hashke's note, which actually has names and acronyms. And the most important news point in that interview to me is that he says that that bribery note is confirmed to be authentic. You have this bizarre twist in the tale with the second middleman, Christian Michel, making the allegation that he was a victim of political vendetta, and he was in fact told that if he named the Gandhis, he would be let off and charges against him would be dropped. His claims are being questioned because one of his key facts in that letter to the tribunal has been proven to be wrong. There was no meeting between Narendra Modi and the Italian Prime Minister on the sidelines of the UNGA summit. So how should we see these two contradictory narratives, one from the judge, another from a middleman? On the program today, Samit Patra of the BJP is with us, Jaivir Shergill of the Congress is with us, and also with me in the studio is, of course, senior journalist and editor Shekhar Gupta. Samit, you could well make the argument that we don't need to believe a middleman, but the Congress would point out that you're contradicting yourself, because in another case there is a 2008 note of Christian Michel which describes Sonia Gandhi as the driving force, which lists a number of people including Ahmed Patel, Pranab Mukherjee, who's the president, M.K. Narayanan, to be targeted. And the Congress could say, if you believed him then, why aren't you ready to believe him now?
In fact, the Congress would be wrong in its premise, because remember, as far as the first note is concerned, the first note which becomes the part of the judgment later in the Italian case, that was recovered by the investigative authorities during a raid. As far as the second note is concerned, which we are talking at present, where he says that he has to face political vendetta,
yes,
it is a self-written note which was not realized through any kind of raid. So naturally, you are always, when you are caught, naturally you will write down a note. So the note which is written after being caught does not justify for any kind of scrutiny. Rather, a note which is caught through a raid is the note which is of importance.
So you're saying the 2008 typed note of Christian Michel should be believed because it was actually appended to this particular judgment, but this 2015 December letter cannot be believed. Sambit, is that your point?
No, my point is absolutely different. My point is the first note, which is the annexured note of the judgment in the court of Italy, is the note which was not willfully submitted by the offender, in this case Christian Michel. It was acquired by the investigative authorities by a raid, because of the very reason that this was a note which was real and it was hidden out of the public view. As far as the second note is concerned, it is a willfully drafted note, and here he wants to protect himself. So naturally, which one is more important? Something which you willfully write or which is recovered under investigation? One which is recovered through the raid is one which you are really hiding. The one which you had written to protect yourself is a show business. The second note is nothing but a show business to protect the Gandhi families, because it is not a hidden fact that in fact Christian Michel's father was a friend of the Gandhi family.
Yes, that is factually correct. But the Christian Michel has said in response to that I was estranged from my father. But let me bring in Jevi Shergill of the Congress. Jevi, the letter does seem a bit incredulous, and it's a bit weak of the Congress to seek to shield yourself behind this letter, because A, it's written by a middleman who is now declared and accused by the government of India, with India saying we want to extradite him. B, one of his key points about this sideline meeting between the Italian Prime Minister and Mr. Modi never took place. So when he's wrong on that fact, why should we believe anything else?
Barkha, unlike the Bharatiya Janata Party, I will not act as a judge, jury and executor. But what I find amusing and ironical in this entire case is this. BJP trusts a note or statements of a dreaded terrorist like Headley when it suits them, and does not trust the revelations of a middleman when it does not suit them. What does this tell about this? BJP is merely interested in creating evidence against the Congress rather than discovering evidence. Why did the Honorable Prime Minister not reply to the letter of Christian Michel dated 8th November 2015?
Why should he reply to a letter written by a middleman?
Why should the Prime Minister reply?
Reply to a letter written by a middleman?
I am coming to that, Barkha. I am coming to that. BJP's interest is in pressurizing the agencies to look in a particular direction rather than to look at the totality of evidence. Please, I argue on a dimmer, please presume Congress is guilty in this entire case. Is it not the job of the government of India to investigate impartially rather than create a cocktail of sensationalism and not back the case
How
legally?
do you read this
Today,
letter?
Such a note
How do
exists.
you read this letter? Some would call this letter sensationalist. Some would call this particular Michel letter sensationalist.
Barkha, whatever is sensational, truth, factually wrong. Let's put everything in one pot. Government cannot act selective in accepting evidence. That's the first rule of law. The investigating agencies cannot be nudged to accept X evidence and disregard Y evidence because Mr. Sambit Patra thinks one is a friend and one is not a friend. Congress wants a fair probe, and BJP has always been allergic to fair probe.
Okay, I want to bring in Shekhar now. Samit Javid, hold on. Samit Javid, hold on.
Barkha, last point. Let's test the waters. Barkha, last point. Litmus test. It's day 9. And I remember the dialogue of the movie Good, Bad and Ugly. If you want to shoot, don't talk. Congress is ready for investigation. Let BJP prove
I think that's a fair question, and I'll put that to Samit in a moment.
Monitored investigation.
So, Samit, just hold on for 1 second. Samit, just 1 second.
Okay.
Shekhar, we have 3 documents that are actually at the heart of this controversy. And we'll actually visually bring them up one by one. Now, there is this Michel letter to the tribunal, which says, I'm a victim. I was asked to name the Gandhis, and I was told, in exchange for that, you can have your freedom. We have this typed note, not signed, by the same Michel, which speaks of Sonia Gandhi as a driving force. Interestingly, about that note, the Agusta judge told me, I found that note irrelevant. But the note, then, and I think...
The typed note, he said he
the
found
typed note irrelevant. But now let's bring up Guido Haschke's handwritten note. This is the note that the judge actually took seriously. And the Agusta judge, can we please change the pictures to that handwritten note, please, of Guido Haschke. The Guido Haschke note, the other middleman, the judge says to me, I looked at it and I said, I believe given everything, my assessment is this is a genuine note. This is the note that makes the reference to an AP. This is the note where the judge says, I believe that these were the amounts that were paid off and I believe money went beyond the Tyagi brothers. Can the Congress counter this statement of the judge with this Michel letter?
Well, first of all, let's look at facts that everybody accepts.
Yeah.
Everybody accepts there was corruption in this deal.
Yes.
Everybody also accepts that this deal could not have been swung if there was corruption just by giving money to, because the amounts mentioned for allegedly for Air Force officers, the bureaucrats, etc., are very small.
Yeah.
Big monies are not given to them. Everybody also, I think, accepts that Christian Michel is a crook.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he'll come back and sort of sue me for defamation. Before that, he has to face the might of Indian law. So he's a crook. He will say anything at any point of time to save himself. At the same time, the judge is finding, if I may qualify, the judge is when the judge says Haschke's note is authentic, he means that he believes that Haschke has written that note.
Yes, he can't prove whether the payments were actually made, but he believes the note to be genuine.
Yes, I don't think there's any doubt.
So there was certainly intent to pay.
Well,
or he wrote this note with some motive.
we don't know. Look, Prabhas Joshi taught us a long time back not to question people's motives, question their actions, because motives we don't know. Motives somebody will have to find out.
Yeah.
But the fact is that nobody doubts that the note is hash case. Why he wrote it? What did he mean? Do bribe givers actually put initials of people they bribe?
Is this reminiscent for you, before I go back to the politicians, of Bofors? In many ways, it seems Bofors Redux, it seems Bofors 2.0.
I think the problem is that I think globally now, arms dealers, crooks, agents, they know that Indian politics is very vulnerable to controversies like this. So I think when you get caught, the best thing is to fill a bucket with mud and generally fling it in the direction of the Indian political system. So each side will latch on to some of it and throw it at the other side.
Okay.
And then, so we are a wonderful country. You know, we always say, don't throw the baby with the bath water. We throw the baby and keep the bath water. That's exactly what happened with Bofors.
Okay, so Samit Patra, come in on that. That's exactly what happened on Bofors, Shekhar says. And the Congress, very interestingly, along with certain other opposition parties, wants the Supreme Court monitored CBI probe. The BJP doesn't. Now, of course, one of you would have to go to court to actually get this probe. The court would have to agree to it.
I don't think the government can order Supreme Court to take
the court would have to
or
decide.
Parliament.
But the BJP is opposed to it politically. Why is that, Samit?
Let me come to it. First, two parts. As far as the generality of the whole thing is concerned, rightly pointed out by Shekhar, that everyone accepts that corruption took place, including the then Defense Minister, Mr. A.K. Antony, who on the floor of the House, in fact, said that, well, yes, bribes were taken and bribes were given. Now, my question is, it's not a rocket science to know who would receive the bribe. Naturally, not a layman walking on the street, not a bystander on the street. Anyone who would be the driving force of the deal and the driving force of the government in order to swing the deal to a particular direction would be the one who would receive the bribe. It's not a rocket science to imagine
but Samit, does that mean that every kind of corruption goes all the way to the top? Does that mean if tomorrow there was corruption, if there was a scam in the BJP government, would you say, oh, it has to go beyond the bureaucrat, it must involve the Prime Minister, it must involve the party president? Because that's effectively what you're saying. You're saying every scam by definition...
Barkha, let me complete.
Yeah.
Let me complete. Barkha, as far as corruption, scams and the government in BJP is concerned, it's not only hypothetical, it is impossible. So let's not imagine about something which is not possible. As far as corruption in Congress is concerned, as to why it leads to the top, it has happened so many times that right now I say it's not a rocket science. And who was the driving force? I was saying, leave aside what the judge has written in the order, that Sonia Gandhi was the driving force as per the note of Mr.
Michel, the same Michel.
It's quite known in this country. Michel, Christian Michel, yes, which was written to Hashke, in fact. It's a known fact in this country that everything, because in fact Congress is the
so why
party
not
of a
Supreme,
family.
Why are you
it's
politically opposed to a Supreme Court monitored CBI probe?
It is not the party which is family.
But you're not answering my question. Why are you opposed to a Supreme Court if the court were to mandate one?
No. Let me come to. Remember, the CBI at least has started doing its job. Remember, there was an expose only a few days ago that when the Congress was in power, the CBI did not concede to the reminders of the Enforcement Directorate to give the FIR to the ED and sat over the FIR for 7 months. The ED, after receiving the FIR, sat over it for 7 months, 14 months wasted. Now the questioning has started. I mean, see, the offenders, the ones who have taken the bribe, cannot dictate what kind of investigation should be done. They should surrender and they should wait till the investigators catch up with them.
I want to bring in JV now. I'm on limited time.
And the Gandhi family, which is going to dictate what kind of investigation should be done. They should surrender and they should wait for the law to catch up with them.
JV, it is a bit incredulous for the Congress to now make Christian Michel's rather bizarre, outlandish letter their key point of defense.
Barkha, 3 points, and you gave Sambit some time. I expect you will give me that.
Go ahead,
Number one, you asked a question, why is BJP politically opposed to Supreme Court monitored investigations? The answer is, from the beginning, BJP has been hesitant to any thorough investigation into the Agusta scam. First, the refusal to JPC, now refusal to Supreme Court investigation, and this is why. Because the investigation will relieve that BJP's links with Agusta, which ultimately allowed to Agusta adventures in India from 2014 to 16.
Links? What
Supreme
links?
Court will ask them.
What links?
Supreme Court will ask them.
What links?
Okay, why, Mr. BJP, you overturned the decision of 3rd July 2014, gave them FIV approval of 8th October 2014, and why did you allow Agusta to be a part of Make in India? BJP crowned Agusta for looting in India by including them in Make in India. BJP will, Supreme Court will ask these uncomfortable
Okay, I'm on my
questions.
last minute.
Now,
I'm going
if
to
you
give the last one to
juxtapose
Shekhar now.
Congress,
Complete.
juxtapose with Congress,
Can I
Congress
just
has
rebut
punished
back?
Agusta and BJP has always rewarded Agusta. That is why they're allergic to a thorough investigation. Even today, I challenge my friend Sambit Patra. Has he written
Okay,
to appeal?
Sambit, 10 seconds, then Shekhar gets the last word. I have to close.
Make a part of investigation.
Sambit.
Have they blacklisted?
Yes. Sambit, quickly,
have they
please,
sent
I
any
really-
summons to
Just
any
a second,
Congress
sir,
leader?
sir.
Let them do it.
Can I
Sambit.
complete?
Quickly, Sambit.
See, it seems my friend Mr. Javed Sehgal has all the links to link Agusta with BJP. Please, you are welcome to go to the Supreme Court with all these facts that you are shouting me at. The Supreme Court, in fact,
We will.
finds
Why
any
are you
kind of
opposed to
credence
it?
in Will pick up the PIL. No, not at all. And remember, as far as the Supreme Court monitored investigation is concerned, and you were speaking of JPC, remember when you were speaking of JPC on the floor of the Parliament, the Bharatiya Janata Party then demanded a Supreme Court monitored SIT because we very well knew that the CBI and the ED
I know,
was
you
in fact
demanded
not
it
functioning.
then, but you're not saying yes to it now.
Today,
Why did you not go?
exactly,
When you
today,
refused JPC, you
why?
should have gone to Supreme
When the
Court. I'm out of
CBI
time.
is no more a caged parrot,
Mr. Sambit
when
Patra,
CBI is no
Bharatiya
more a
Janata
caged
Party has
parrot,
crowned
when the
Agusta,
CBI does
whereas
not
Congress
take
has
instructions
punished
from
Sambit.
Sonia
Thank you.
Gandhi,
Nobody can
why
change
should
Javed,
not the
Sambit, thank
CBI
you.
and
Thank you.
ED be
Shekhar,
investigating?
Shekhar, last word.
See, first of all, we've seen this movie before.
Yes.
You know, when I hear the names of Christian Michel, Gautam Khaitan, Air Marshal so-and-so, it reminds me of Vin Chadha,
Exactly. There's a both of them.
Michael Hirschman,
Yes.
so-and-so and so-and-so.
Yeah.
And we are doing exactly the same thing. Instead of looking for the culprits who may have taken India's money, we are trying to make it a political issue on either side. That's one.
Okay.
Second, this is not 1987. This is 2016. This money has gone out of a European bank, an Italian bank, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. If 40 million euros go out of a European bank, today it should take no more than one working week
To find
for any investigators to find out exactly what track the money followed and
To follow the money.
where did it go.
And
if they haven't done so, that means the intention is not to find out where the money went.
We'll have to leave it there. Shekhar and Sambit and Javi, thank you so much for joining us on the Buck Stops here.